Hey, boy Manning here. Welcome to the Garden Report. The two words you usually love to hear, but not in this circumstance. Game 7.
Man, they don't make it easy for themselves, do they? These Celtics.
No, this is going to be the hard way. And I think the optimistic fans are saying 2008 was tough too, but after a 111-103 loss here, this feels a little different.
Yeah, it feels a lot different because by this point, they had got their you-know-what together. So I don't like that comparison whatsoever, okay? They ended that Detroit Pistons team in 5 games. So this is very different.
All right. We'll see how it turns out for the Celtics down in South Beach, but there's 2 lines of thinking going into this one. Heat won't hit 15 threes down there. Celtics won't turn the ball over upwards of 20 times. You can say those 2 things, but you don't know what's really going to happen in a Game 7, and that's why you go into this game and you almost always feel like it's a coin toss. Certainly the number one thing is cutting down the turnovers we talked about last game, but your 2 stars, just their poise as a whole is central to what's going to happen here. Jayson Tatum, 7 turnovers in this game. Jaylen Brown, 4. But overall, just their recklessness with the ball, the decision-making, and the looseness with the dribble define these last 2 games. And they got fortunate in Game 5, lots of breaks, historically bad shooting from the Heat. That flips into a good shooting game from the Heat here. And if it's somewhere in between, I still think you're going to be playing a pretty close game if you're not shooting well yourself. So it's hard to look anywhere but the turnovers, and it's hard to look anywhere but Brown and Tatum to solve those. And it's just kind of become who they've been this series, and it's the way the Heat are guarding them. They've been aggressive. They've been hacking. Maybe you get some extra foul calls here, but they just have to tighten up.
Yeah, it's getting back to the basics, right, Bobby? It's getting back to what made this team pull off that turnaround that they did mid-season, and that's essentially 1, taking care of the ball, 2, playing defense, to a level that is going to suffocate.
Defense slipped tonight,
Yeah, it slipped in a big way, and I thought in that fourth quarter, I liked it when someone like Jaylen Brown was taking, or Derrick White was taking someone full court, just applying pressure. I thought that led to a couple steals in the backcourt, which is always something you love to see, especially from the Celtics team. So I think you'll see some of that as well, but at least I think going into this one, what helps in a big way is the fact that this team has won there a couple of times throughout this series. So, the confidence is going to be at an all-time high regardless. But I think with that, it helps. And also, again, the way this team has bounced back from losses throughout the postseason. So I'm not afraid. I don't think this team's going to be afraid of the moment. I don't think that's going to be the case here. But like you said, that Miami Heat team, they're hungry. They know that this is it. They know that they've had to fight for this opportunity, this moment. So you have to make sure you're ready to punch back when they come out swinging, because they will come out swinging.
And as we talked about on the show, not much time for wholesale changes here. Not any significant adjustments even, I think, are expected. You just have to play better within your own game, which is probably going to come down to hitting shots, which Marcus Smart, you look at 1 of 9 here, shooting quite a few shots at the end of those sequences. And the Celtics actually grabbed a handful of offensive rebounds off of those that turned into points. So it could have been even worse offensively for the Celtics in this one if they didn't get those back. But he is not shown to be someone that's been reliable to close out those possessions, especially since he got hurt. So you wonder what you do with him offensively, not getting the penetration you're looking for there, but not really an effective creator either. One thing I do rely on him and like about him right now, though, is that he's just going to make good decisions. He's not going to force the pocket pass. He's not going to make risky throws. And you see that sideline out of bounds there, hitting Rob on the alley-oop. He's just the most sensible passer on this team. So I don't think there's any subtle change bigger than trusting Marcus a little more, unless he's just a complete zero from the field right now. And you did see that tonight.
Yeah, you saw that a little bit. But to your point, I think his playmaking abilities can really shine in this moment. Marcus Smart tends to get up for these moments, especially with the NBA Finals on the line. So I don't expect him to, be disappointing in this game. My only fear with Marcus is that his injury will limit him, especially in that second half. And you can say the same thing about Rob, but what was most encouraging about Rob, in my opinion, was that he was catching a couple of those lobs late in the game instead of
10-point third quarter, and then you don't see him much in the fourth. So is that health-related or matchup-related?
They have to open that up more. And listen, you had someone like Jaylen Brown give him a nice lob, which you don't see often. Other guys doing it as well. So that's an option I think is going to be there for them. But another guy who I think could step up as well off the bench could be Grant Williams. Grant Williams has been, since that Milwaukee series, he hasn't been that guy. He's been a shell of himself, in my opinion, especially on the offensive end. So you want to find some consistency there. But again, it really does go back to the defense. If this team is able to revert back to that team that can string together defensive stops, it opens up the offense. It always does with this team. It's been the story of this team all season long, or at least throughout the better half of it. So I don't expect that to change. I just don't want this to be a shootout. I don't think you want to get into a shootout with this Miami Heat team. I do think they're going to try to put up a lot of threes. They did it in Game 6. I think they'll do it again in Game 7. So you have to limit that. And also, getting out in transition defense, I thought the Miami Heat really crushed the Celtics in that, or at least exposed them in this one, in Game 6. So we'll see what kind of adjustments they make.
For sure. Derrick White, defense, I think those are two things you can count on going into this one. Yeah, and he's slowly built up toward this point. Feels like he's found his role, setting screens, getting downhill, playing in his two-man game with Tatum, and finishing with the starters. I think more minutes of him and the starters together will be important, more minutes total, and you even probably get a feel early in that game of whether Smart has it or not, and whether you turn to White in his place. And listen, you might even let Pritchard loose a little bit. I know they've reined him in a few minutes here, but you need shooting, and he provides it, and he's giving you a good few minutes here. And I think based off what you see from Smart early in that game, Ime's going to have to make a quick rotation decision there. Fortunately, White's reliable.
He likes Miami. I think he likes it there. He plays well there. He's a little loose out there. I love how he had a well-balanced attack, in those first couple of games. He wasn't just settling for three-pointers. So he gets a few shots going. Ime's going to let him keep it going. We're not talking about fourth quarter, right? We're talking about pockets throughout the middle quarters, second, third. If he can jumpstart this offense. They did turn to him for a few minutes, but obviously he couldn't find anything, couldn't find any of his offensive rhythm. And the defense, they just needed somebody else on that end. And Derrick White was playing one heck of a game. So there's a lot of factors into it. But that doesn't mean he's out of the rotation altogether. I don't believe that. I do think Ime will call his number in Game 7. So we'll see what he does with that.
Game 7, Sunday, 8:30. Going to be down there covering it live in Miami. Josue Pavon, Bobby Manning here for the Garden Report, brought to you by com.com/garden, 40% off a premium subscription, yoga, sleep sounds, meditations, and more. And HelloFresh, hellofresh.com/playoff, 16 free meals, 3 free gifts, fresh meals shipped, ready to make at your door. 16 free, 3 free gifts on top of it. HelloFresh.com/playoff, 16. We will see you down in Miami.